Hello and welcome to Concert Pipeline. That's Jens Schippel.
And that's Steve Jones.
And Jens, today on the program we have an artist named Max Rainer, from Wilderado. That's the name of the band. And
welcome.
Yes, and we had a really good chat about his band, kind of where they're at right now, where his life is. He's had a couple of kids, and and kind of where how COVID has affected the band, that sort of thing. But they've had a couple of him and his bandmates have had some kids, and so they're taking things a little bit slow right now. But I think they're about ready to get out and do some shows. When it's right. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay.
Fantastic. Did you just say get out and watch shows or go to shows?
I said do shows. They're going to do shows. They're going to play shows.
This is the first time we've talked. We've talked about this a lot, and I'm talking about like the advent of concerts again.
Yeah.
But this is the first time that we're mentioning it where I feel like we're really hopeful. Like it might happen this year.
Yeah. I feel like I will get to a concert before the year is over, which is good. On the way here, actually, I was talking to my girlfriend, and she told me that they're going to start doing Napa City Nights again, which is the Friday night localish bands, and musicians playing out in downtown Napa. Where we would go to a bunch of those and take the kids even, and it's out in a little amphitheater style area with grass patches, and you hang out and the kids can run around. You can go near the the front of the place and dance around if you want, or what have you. It's just local bands. Bring a couple of drinks or picnic or something and hang out, and I'm excited for even that.
You know what we got to do this together. We've got to do this together, because I'm saying this because we've done a bunch of concerts and I've never seen you just hang out and dance around in front of stuff.
No,
like I would love to see that. Yeah, I'm imagining we're in line to get in, and they're just all sitting here like dancing, like, well, I can't wait to get in.
There's not even a line. You just go out. It's a local thing, right? So you don't have to buy tickets. It's just free out.
So you just go.
You just go.
How could it be that easy?
It's that easy. So I don't know how it'll be with COVID restrictions or anything.
Right.
But
didn't they announce the San Francisco Booking Park outdoor concert thing?
Did they? I didn't hear about that.
I think they did. I think there was a big name there, and I was like, maybe I should go this year. Maybe I should go if they actually do have it.
You'll have to let me know who that is, so we'll check that out.
Okay, I might have dreamt it.
But I do want to tell you about a plan of mine, and maybe by me talking about it on the podcast, it'll make it real. And
maybe it'll also help you remember what it is that you're trying to say and talk about. Like, do you actually remember this?
It could do that as well. But so what it is, Jens, is this is an idea that I'm exploring doing for a month, okay? And I want to officially start it at the 15th of this month, which by the time this airs will have already happened. But
okay.
But this plan is to cut out all added sugar to my life for a month.
You know what? I would love to respond to that, but you totally froze. I'm just waiting for you to catch up.
How am I doing? Am I caught up?
Something about sugar.
Cut out all added sugar in my life.
When you say added sugar, what do you mean by that? Like you can't add sugar to whatever you're eating anymore?
No, I'm saying, so I don't want to, be so Nazi-ish, for lack of a better term, that I'm going to, count bread if it has sugar in it, or, those sort of things. But all the like sweets and crap that I eat, like donuts and cookies and, if candy's in the house, which I don't usually buy, but it somehow makes its way into the house, and then if it's there, I will fucking eat it. Like I attacked some fucking Sour Patch Kids today during a meeting, like nobody's business, and like that shit, and I'm gonna cut. You know, if Oreos are in, Oreos aren't going to be in the cabinet, but those were there for my son's medicine to sneak in. But then I would, you know, I'd have a
Sure.
couple because they're there, right? And I don't want them to go bad. So,
Blame your
uh,
kids for your sugar addiction. Fine.
so I have this relationship with sugar where I'll, you know, eat a lot more than I should. You know, I mean,
Uh,
I'm just addicted. And then I offset it by living life on the Peloton, you know,
mhm.
and being like, okay, I worked out like a fucking madman. It's okay. That balances it out somewhere, right? Um,
Right.
and that sort of thing. So, you know, I'll still have beer and you know, and things, but you know, and live life normally, but cut out all the extra bullshit for a month. Um, and
Okay. When are you starting this?
the 15th.
So it goes from the 15th to the 15th.
Yeah, with the exception of 2 days I'm looking at right now. One, my birthday. I imagine there will be a cake type substance of some sort, and the other being my daughter's birthday, which is in June. Mine's in May, right? Um, so those are the two. I want to give myself a little leniency on those 2 days, but everything outside of that, kind of cut it down, um, and hold myself accountable to not eating the garbage.
Yeah. You know what? I wish you the best of luck with that.
I appreciate you being here for me with it through this venture and committing yourself to the same level of, you know, accountability.
I was just about to say, I was just feel like there's any hope of success here. Um, I would highly encourage you, if you haven't already thought about it, to have someone either monitor your intake or hold you accountable. Because
I'm glad you mentioned that because so this is what I proposed to my girlfriend. I did not propose to my girlfriend. This is what I recommended of my girlfriend.
she eat all the donuts and
No,
cookies.
no, because she doesn't have the same relationship with sugar necessarily. She'll eat some, but doesn't attack it in the way that I do. Um, but but what I, you know, I was like, okay, we both need to put ourselves outside of our comfort zone, do something that really takes us out of there. You know, for her it's been exercise, and she's, you know, lived,
Mhm.
you know, with with COVID, you know, we bought a
Yeah.
Peloton together, but I'm the only one that does
Mhm.
that, the Peloton at this point. And she just doesn't like it. She wants, like, she'd love like in-person spin classes or you know, group Pilates or something, you know, that social
Yeah. She
sort
wants
of
something
aspect
social. Yeah. Yeah.
of exercising, where I don't need that. You know, I'm good doing it by myself. Um, and you know, and I'm fine, right, with that. But so I'm like, okay, you do something with exercise, whatever that's, you know, takes you, whatever that is, it takes you out of your comfort zone, and I'll do the sugar. And if we each have this thing that it takes us out of our comfort zone, then we can kind of hold each other accountable a little bit. So I'm still working on getting her commitment and buy-in towards that. It might happen, but I told her, I was like, that will really help me, you know, be accountable, because we'll be in it together, kind of
Right.
sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're on the right track. You know, if we were roommates or something, you know, in college, and you I think I'd probably just follow you around with a cattle prod. And every time you like looked at a donut or reached for a cookie, it's like I mean, I'm like, there needs to be razor focus to keep you away from the sugar. I'm just talking from experience. I get into, I'm totally guilty, not necessarily with cookies and donuts, but my wife, she brings home this crap, and I keep on telling her not to bring it home, but she does bring it home, and she hides it, and she's terrible at hiding things. And dude, I was like,
Mhm.
I cannot stop eating all this freaking chocolate she brings. So you should take it with you. Just get rid of it. Just throw it away on the way at home.
Well, I'm trying to eat through it to get to get rid of it
Try to
right
eat
now,
through
since we have a
it.
couple days left.
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
waste yens, but
Exactly. I know. I mean, that, somebody worked hard for that, to pay for that stuff. And I hear you though. I mean, sugar is just bad, and it converts to fat, and it's just shitty. Sugar was invented so people could sell stuff like cookies and donuts.
exactly. So that's my goal. I'll keep you appraised as to how it's going and how much I hate life and that sort of thing. Because it's just, I just need things. I need things I can snack on in the house because I work from home, and it's just like I need something. But I can do like carrots. That works for me. You know, apples, pear. You know, if I have enough of that sort of thing in the house, it'll kind of. I think I'll be able to replace it fairly easily. But when it comes down to the kids, I don't know, I might get some pushback and revolting happening, but we'll see. We'll see what
Well,
happens
I
there.
don't know if you're like me, but if it's in the house, I have no self-control.
Yeah,
If
that's the thing.
not in the house, I don't have the urge to go down to the corner store and buy a bunch of junk. Like if it's not here, I'm too lazy to go and get it.
Agreed.
So for me, the problem is the person that brings it into the house or the method that comes here. I am going to call you at like on the 15th, right? I'm going to call you at like 12:30 in the morning, and I'm going to check on you like we're half an hour into this, Steve. How you doing?
I mean, I hope I'm okay because I'll be asleep, but yeah, I appreciate you looking out for me at the very beginning.
Dude, you're going to be on like on your back with like donuts like smeared all over your face because you just had to do your last minute binge right before midnight.
It's probably true. You're not wrong.
That's my
So
visual. Oh
I wish you for that. So um, all right. Well, let's bring our guest in, shall we? So again, this is Max Rayner from Wilderado, and we'll bring him in now.
Sounds good.
How are you doing today, Max?
Doing very well. Yeah, it's good to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you as well. I'd like to start out kind of asking how like the past year has been for you. I mean, something I've found as I've been doing a lot of these Zoom interviews with fans is it's a good opportunity to talk to people and kind of realize that everybody's experienced this, right? Everybody's got a story. Everybody's been going through something and has been affected by COVID, even if you haven't been, even if you haven't gotten it, right? So what has this last year been like for you?
It's been great to tell you the truth. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, I've just been home. We've just been riding and hanging out with the family and working on a bunch of stuff that we have never had time to do. And it's honestly just been fantastic. I mean, my family's blessed in that no one got infected, and we were all pretty careful. We all laid pretty low for a long time, and now we're kind of coming out of our cocoons a little bit, and it's spring, and man, it's good vibes, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's good. So I mean, it's time that so we were both kind of asking at the same time, but it's time you didn't expect to have with with two pretty young kids, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, which is always invaluable. Anytime I'm getting to stay home, I soak it up pretty hard. But I mean, it had some moments, and took some adjusting, and it's interesting being in a band when you can't tour, especially kind of pre-record cycle. But I think that all just kind of played into our advantage. We finished the record in the first, I think, like the first month or two of quarantine, and then we just kind of were able to sit back and think and plan on it. So I think that was good. We've had friends that released a record right before COVID happened, and then I get to promote it, and we're left to basically write the next one. I just think all things considered, the band needed a break. I don't think we realized how tired we were, how many things we needed to kind of fix and sort out in our own lives and our own headspaces, and we just took the time to do it, and now it feels good. I mean, it really is. I love seasons so much, the idea of them, the actuality of them, and coming into spring, man, the summer's right around the corner, the world's opening back up. It's just been nice.
Yeah. Well, I know you were asking me about mine, and at the same time, and Yeah, it's been different. I work from home for over a decade, so that part's not new for me. But distance learning has been quite a challenge here, and that leading to hybrid learning and juggling.
Are you in school or teaching?
Oh no, for my kids. Sorry.
Oh, God.
Yeah, having to.
How many kids do you?
I have two kids, a 10-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son, and
Wow.
both at different schools on opposite sides of town. And so, when things open back up again, with different schedules, it just got even more complicated. It's been a bit of a challenge, but also I recognize that, that's hard for me, but everybody, there are lots of people who've had it a lot harder than that for sure. And, and luckily I'm able to balance that with work and everything. So it's been okay.
You guys are healthy and all that?
Oh yeah. No one in our group has had it or anything. So that's good. Now, all vaccinated. So makes it even stronger. And like you said, starting to feel like, okay, great, can get back out a little bit. I'm ready for concerts to come back and start going to those. I mean, but in the right way, right? I don't want to go in a theater show or anything. I don't know, that feels like too much, but an outdoor show with, spread out, people that I can do that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting aspect, is once you get the green light to go, when actually is the right time to go. But seems like people are headed out, man. I'm watching all these fall tours announced. But what I haven't really been able to figure out is if that's at limited capacity, or I mean, that's what's difficult for us, is we can't. Limited capacity doesn't work for us. Like we can't afford to go on tour if we're selling just 50% of a 500 cap room.
Yeah, you have to be able to pay the venue, pay for the band, everything, right? You got to sell the tickets. So yeah, and right before everything shut down, you guys were supposed to go tour with Barnes Courtney, right?
Yeah. And that a trip to think that's just an alternate life that didn't happen. Yeah. But all good, man. I guess it wasn't supposed to happen. He seemed like a nice guy, though. I think that would have probably been a fun trip. But man, I tell you what, I don't know how we would have done that, to tell you the truth. I mean, the band just kind of without going into it too far, fell apart in a way, and we went through a really hard time there during when that tour was supposed to be. And instead of just struggling to put something together, finish the record, mix the record on the road, et cetera, we just stayed home, and everyone just kind of took some time to figure themselves out. I mean, it really was so necessary for us. I don't know how we lucked into just kind of getting it without having to create it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And so in what you're talking about, and you can not share whatever, but I know Colton's not in the band anymore. Is it partially because he pooped his pants on tour, or?
Have we spoke before?
No. I'm gonna do my research. So.
Yeah, that's funny. No, it had nothing to do with Colton pooping his pants. So it did have a lot to do with him not being in the band any longer. I mean, I don't really like to speak about that simply because he's not here, and there's always two sides to every story. The last thing I want to do is speak on Colton's behalf, but it was very, it was hard, and it still is hard. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just, there's a lot to figure out. There's still a lot to figure out. And it was just what I'll say was, it was nice to get to just kind of sit back and think and really not think, and take a moment to just kind of rest before looking back at what Wilderado was and would be moving forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you looking at filling in, spot for a new bassist, or what does that change the dynamic of the band?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will in a big way. I think that's another great aspect. I mean, we just went straight into not solving that. we will eventually. I think right now we're just kind of, that's something that we will be able to figure out. Um, and we just aren't really having to yet. So I think right now the idea is to just keep taking steps forward with stuff, that's more imminent, and the live show will figure itself out like it always does eventually. But yeah, I don't think we're looking to. I don't know. It's an interesting time. There's been a lot. Lots changed.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's go back a bit. Tell me about, what music you listened to as a kid. What was on in your household? And kind of your family dynamic. I know your sister's a songwriter, and that was some of the inspiration for you, kind of going that way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we had an interesting family upbringing in terms of music. It was largely church related. We were, I always say we were all put into piano, but for some reason only two of us were. There are five of us, and I don't know why. I've never really thought about that before, but yeah, two of us were forced to play piano, and no one ever else did. I don't know why. What was up with that? But my mom's a classically trained singer, and she was always singing in the church and singing in the house, and she was a singer, that it wasn't like we'd all go to church on Sunday and then be like, what's mom doing up there? It was like she was her voice was a part of her, and she knew how to train and to take care of it. And I grew up listening to her doing exercises, you know what I mean, on the piano. And she has a beautiful, beautiful voice. So I think singing has always kind of been a special thing to me. And then, yeah, I mean, I think, my sister Sunday and I worked together for a while, and I was kind of watching her write songs, and I've always been inspired by her. But yeah, as far as but we weren't one of those families whose parents were like putting records on all the time. And we didn't own a record player. I was just telling somebody else, it was like, I think the first band I really remember hearing and being like, whoa, what is this? Was Three Dog Night. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then some contemporary Christian artists. And yeah, I mean, I was kind of unimpressive in a way, to tell you the truth. No one was showing us any, we weren't figuring out Louis Armstrong tracks or anything. It was just we were just kind of having fun and going to church, and then mostly really got into sports. And yeah, music was never really that much of a thing for me until I got to college, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Is that when you were working with your sister a lot in terms of the songwriting, or that started in high school, right? Like you wrote songs, but you didn't kind of start a band or anything until college?
Yeah, I mean, mostly it was she was kind of a prolific writer. I don't, in all seriousness, she was always writing and wrote a lot, and wrote really great songs. And I would just kind of play them with her, play guitar, sing with her, help her. And there were several different formations of that. But then she went to Pepperdine, and I went to Baylor. So kind of went our different ways, and different paths eventually emerged. But yeah, she's always been a big part of me growing up and getting into songwriting for sure.
She still do a lot of writing?
She just finished her master's. She's actually back in Tulsa right now. So I'm sure she's done lots of writing, but she's mostly been up in New York getting that done.
Yeah. And you're in LA?
I'm in Tulsa.
You're
yeah.
Okay. You said back in Tulsa, so I knew there was some back, and forth between LA and everything. So okay.
We did a stint in LA, started the band in LA. Two of us are in Tulsa now, the drummer Justin and I, and then the guitar player Tyler's in LA.
Gotcha. And so how does that dynamic work between you guys? You guys send tracks back and forth a lot to each other?
Yeah, there's some of that. When we haven't really got into a whole bunch of writing since finishing the record. It more so looks like he'll come out. I mean, we were separated for almost a year, 9 months at least. And it really looked like us just laying low, my man. I mean, he had a baby. He and his wife had a baby. Yeah. So they're into that. new phase of life, and are, you know, it has a wild spin on it, as you know.
Oh, I know.
And, so they, you know, he's like me, got this. I mean, he's gonna spend a whole year with that little girl almost before they get. It's just like it don't. He lucked into it. I'm so happy for him. We're actually gonna meet them. Her name's Tulip. We meet Tulip in like 10 days. They come. He and Tori and Tulip come to Tulsa. So we're looking forward to that. And then I think they're going to spend, you know, more time here as things move along and we start having to prepare for looking at what playing live is like again.
Yeah.
But my man, I mean, I can't overstress. We just took it easy. We did a lot of chatting. I did a lot of just, you know, sifting through a bunch of, you know, a whole new world together. It was nice. It was kind of nice to just lay the band down for a second and get into the real world.
And you met Tyler in college, and tell me about how that dynamic became. You know, went from kind of that college environment, like, hey, let's move out to LA and start this band.
He and I just kind of connected. It was one of those friendships where it didn't take very long for us to, I think, really love each other. And a big part of it was just sharing musical taste and enjoying being together and playing music. And so I think when I went out to LA, he and Tori actually went to Aspen and we're kind of just doing the year off thing. And it's a great story, actually, probably his to tell, but we kind of just went our separate ways and we just always talked about it. I mean, I remember talking to him on the phone several times in LA while he was in Aspen, and you know, we didn't keep that close, but we would chat every once in a while, and we just never let go of the idea of maybe putting some of these songs I had together. And I've always really loved his voice. And yeah, man, it was just kind of something we always dreamed of. And then for some reason, he and his wife thought it would be worth it to come to LA. And once he did that, there was really no pause on it. We just kind of started slowly building everything up.
Yeah. And you started as Bird Dog, and I know you've told that story 100 times, you know, about, you know, the name being taken and all of that business. But for you guys, as you're kind of getting your feet wet and you have this, you know, this collection of songs, I know you split them into 2 EPs to be able to have something to take out there and everything. Like what was that like for you to have to be like, okay, God, we have to get all this work in this and we have to change our freaking band name? Like what was that experience like for you?
It was a bummer. I mean, it was kind of the quintessential hindsight deal where I was definitely more upset about it then and thought it was a bigger deal then than I definitely do now. But that name meant a lot to me. It was, you know, it was kind of a nod to my grandfather, who I was real close with, and he had just passed away, and so having to change the name was kind of weird in that sense, but also like we were calculated about it, and we're already kind of running into some issues with that. I mean, it was wild how we weren't online or whatever for very long before people were tagging us in different bird dogs. I mean, there's like 15 bird dogs. I remember just thinking, and a lot of them were like cover bands or wedding bands in Louisiana and stuff that didn't seem they were pursuing much other than just having fun. And so I guess it seems safe. But yeah, it did seem like a big deal at the time. And we, you know, being on tour, knowing that we were playing in front of all these people that whether they liked us or not, wouldn't be able to find us as soon as we got back, that sort of thing was really strange. We've actually had people come up still and say that they'd lost us. Like, I didn't realize we were opening for Mountain Joy, and someone came up and said they lost us. Did you lose me there for a second? I started getting a call.
Yeah. I mean, I heard you though, but you're good. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was odd. And it was like you were saying, it was right at the beginning. We were excited and we were off to the races, but I think no one really freaked out about it, if you will.
Yeah. And now easier to find you guys because there's one Wilderado, right? So
yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, well, that's very cool. I want to talk to you about a couple of your tours and shows that you've done and kind of some of the experiences um, and some of the venues you've played. I'm in the Bay Area. I'm in Napa myself, and so I know
Okay.
you played a handful of times here. So I want to ask about a couple of those shows if you remember them. But first off, you played with Lindsey Buckingham and Christina McVie. How was that experience?
It was amazing. I mean, simply put, it was amazing. There was a large spectrum on why it was great. I mean, all the way from watching them play every night to, there was a certain amount of affirmation, obviously, that went along with that. Getting kind of a nod from, two people of that high of a standard was really cool. And it was also fun for our parents to be like, wow, maybe there's more to this whole thing than we thought at first. But I just think I'll never get over how endearing they were, and then also just how just into it they were. I mean, it was such a good look at, like, this whole band thing shouldn't happen unless it's exciting still, and unless you're enjoying it, and they were just such a testimony to that. I love seeing them, and they're going up in age a little bit, and they kind of had the same, there's just kind of that same buzz before you went on stage. There, you know what I mean? No one was an ass. They just were excited and maybe nervous, and it just seemed cool. I loved everything about it. They were sweet to us and talked to us. It was cool. And then, speaking of places we played, I mean, we got to basically tour the most beautiful theaters in the country. And there's catering every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was absolutely amazing.
Not too shabby, right? You're like, I
Yeah,
can get used to this.
for real. And then we never
Yeah.
did it again, right? I mean, it was crazy doing that trip, and then doing, I mean, no tour ever again is that catering.
Yeah.
But it was cool, man. I want to trade that trip for the world. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. Um, and you mentioned Mountjoy earlier. You actually you played the Fillmore here in San Francisco. You've played it twice, I believe, but once was with Mountjoy. Like, tell me, that's my favorite venue in the world. Tell me about that experience of getting to play the Fillmore.
It was really cool. It was, yeah, it's a really beautiful building. I mean, and you kind of go in knowing the history of it, and you're playing the same stage that everyone you can imagine has. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a big room, and I think there was some nerves going into it, because when you play a theater or a club like that that's got some accolades, there's always like, how am I going to screw this up tonight, that I have to fight sometimes. But I think it was fun. It's always, I'll tell you what, the best part is always when you go into a room like that. Um, you get super nervous, and then you go on and you check your lines and everything, and sound check is just always epic. I mean, it's always better than the show almost. There's nobody in there. It's so loud,
Yeah.
and you can hear yourself, and it's just relaxed, and the guitars all sound so cool, and it's just no pressure. So always just remember the sound checks, to tell you the truth. The show's always, it's always just kind of like a roller coaster. You start it, and then the next thing you know, it's over. And I mean, yeah, the Fillmore, I remember just kind of thinking how amazing soundcheck was. And there's these crazy steep stairs
Mhm.
out the back door where you load in and
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And
I've
the
got,
apples there are magic, by the way. There's like magic in those apples. I don't know what it is, but yeah, if you had a Fillmore apple, there's a bucket in the in the hallway at the front, and they're pretty amazing. So
really, like, delicious.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, just like I don't even know, but it's something about that venue, and I don't know where to get them. The plump, juicy red apples. It's great.
Funny.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. What do you like to do in between sound check and the show? I mean, you have some hours out, like, do you like to go around town, get something to eat when you're, on tour? Like, what do you do when you're downtown?
Well,
There.
it usually, when you're on a support trip like that, the Fillmore, you sound check at 6, and then doors are at 7 and we're on at 7:30 or 8. So there's never much time, and I usually will start warming up my voice 30-45 minutes before. I'm so usually I lay pretty low. If there's a place to go and just sit, I'll do that. Sometimes basically anywhere I don't have to do a whole lot of talking and can kind of be nervous by myself. It's an interesting thing because you like, and I've got a really good friend in San Francisco. He actually just moved to Austin, but when I go to San Francisco, you always try to grab dinner with Tyler, and I always feel I must be the worst guest at dinner every time because he only sees me now before shows, and I'm always kind of nervous, and it's hard to eat and stuff, especially before playing the film more. But if I can get a walk, if I can, if there's enough time to eat, usually there's not enough time to eat. It's just kind of nice to go and clear your ears and your mind a little bit.
Yeah. So a couple of festivals I want to ask you about. I mean, obviously starting local, you played Bottle Rock here in Napa. How was that experience with Bottle Rock? Who did you like seeing while you were playing the festival?
We've done Bottle Rock twice.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was cool. One time it was like on a way far stage early, and then the second time we played in the main stage, and it was also pretty early, but that dichotomy is kind of crazy. The main stage there was really awesome. I think that might be my all-time favorite festival so far, at least. It's just so awesome. I mean, everything's so clean. It's going to be amazing weather. The food is incredible. It's smaller, so it's really easy to navigate, and the artist tents are always really nice. We're stoked when we got to play Bottle Rock again. Hopefully we will again soon. But Neil Young for sure was the coolest thing ever. I got to stand. He was sound checking, and we like got on stage somehow, and we're standing next to his tech as he was like tuning all his real famous guitars, like Black Beauty and that Martin he played in that 70s BBC series. You know what I mean? Like all these like just guitars I actually knew. That was pretty cool. Hard to beat that, to tell you the truth. I can't even remember any other artists.
Yeah. Everything else was a blur. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And Lollapalooza, you had experience there. Did you win the opportunity to play at Lollapalooza, or what happened with Lollapalooza?
Did we win it?
I read something about winning part of the performance or something. I don't know. Maybe I read that wrong.
It might have been my mom or something say we'd won. It was like I think we just booked it. I mean, it was another like noon appearance on the main stage, which was wild. The weirdest thing about Lollapalooza was just how massive it was. I mean, it was like walking into outer space or something. And since there was at noon, there was a lot of people, but a lot of the people were like little girls waiting for Ariana Grande later that night. So there's a lot of like, who the hell are these guys? Faces that you're playing to, and then also you could just legitimately hear your instruments coming off the buildings behind you. I mean, it was this wild. It was just so wild. I just remember thinking it was so loud. It was so cool. And then we got to play with Jade Bird the night before at this little club. I can never remember the name of any of the clubs, but that was really cool. It was packed, and she's pretty rad. I didn't know much about her before then, but it was really fun sharing that night with that band. Yeah, man, Lollapalooza was crazy. I just don't think I'll ever get over how massive that all was and felt. But it was great. I mean, you play the noon slot at a place like that, and then you just get to do nothing but hang out afterwards.
Yeah, and you see all the other awesome bands, right? But eat good food, all that fun stuff. Yeah,
it was great.
Did you ever get to play Kane's Ballroom? I know that was something you were hoping to get to do.
Yeah, we never have. It's funny, we played the arena in town before Kane's Ballroom, but that was kind of a fluke deal that we got to do that. That was like a radio show. We were one of like 4
Yeah.
bands on the bill. Still, we were in there. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean, me and Justin were just talking the other day. That's still kind of like the highlight dream, playing Kane's, and it's packed and we're confident and feeling good, and that would be pretty special. Hopefully one day that'll come around.
Yeah. You went to a wedding where you were supposed to meet Ted Danson. Did you get to meet him?
Did not, but I kept myself from saying hi to him. It was definitely, you could tell the vibe was, don't go introduce yourself to Ted.
I've seen that, and I'll tell you, I went like, I don't know, almost 18 years ago or something. I went to a taping of Becker in Los Angeles. Yeah, and same sort of thing, right? After I was a kid, right? But I went to LA, and that was one of the things we did. And I was like, Mr. Dancer, nope, he just kept walking. But some
yeah,
of the
see,
came
I
over
think
and
if I maybe saw him at a restaurant, it would be a different thing. But it was like, we were guests of the bride and groom, and Ted and his wife are her godparents. And I knew if it was like, if we made fools of ourselves in front of Ted Danson, then it wouldn't have just been Ted Danson being annoyed that he was just trying to hang out. It'd have been like the whole place would have been like, let's get these schmucks out of here. You know what I mean?
Mary Steinberger would have been over there, and like, if you would have.
Hey, I tell you what, though, she gave a toast, and it was absolutely fantastic. She was so impressive. Yeah, that was maybe the highlight of the whole wedding, because I love her. I think she's so great.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. And I mean, Ted just seems like one of those guys who's the nicest guy if you know him, but reserved at the same time, right? So
yeah, there's got to be these times and places where those people who are always being bothered just don't have enough patience to not let being bothered bother them.
Yeah.
So
Head Right is your new single. Tell me about that song. What is it about, and kind of where, how do you go into kind of creating it and choosing it as the single to release right now?
I mean, that song is, I hate to make it unromantic, but it really is just so incredibly straightforward. I mean, it's just one of those things that I always have a hard time with. I'm one of those people that have a hard time enjoying the moments, and not kind of thinking past the present tense. And yeah, I mean, I think I was worn out writing that tune, and it all just kind of fell together and was fun and fast. And I mean, the energy of that song kind of just told itself in the message. And then the label just connected to it really fast, and they just kind of let them decide what the single's going to be. But yeah, they glued onto that song fast, and that was kind of always the plan, to get that out, start working it at radio and AAA and all that. And it's been fun, man. It feels good to have it out. It feels good to always have new music out. It's fun seeing people be receptive, and it's always a good experience, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what can you tell me about the new album? I mean, I know your initial aim was to have it ready in 2020. We know everything changed around that. And I mean, it's a relief that it hasn't come out yet, but I'm sure you're ready for it to come out at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot larger. There's a lot more going on in the record than there is in Head Right. It's I think that's what we're most excited about. Is I just think it's our best writing so far. I'm really proud of the record, and I'm really proud of what I said, and I'm proud of the sounds and the way it all came together. I love so many of the arrangements. It's just a great listen. But I put a lot of effort into it having a different writing styles all throughout it, and nothing really sounds the same, which I love. Sometimes I find listening to a record, I just kind of find myself getting distracted. So that's one thing I wanted to try to do. Is it's interesting putting out our first record, having almost 30 songs released on Spotify. So something that I think we accomplished was kind of representing a bunch of the music that we've released up to this point, and allowing ourselves to have some, a wide range of writing on the record, try to represent all the ways that Wilderado likes to write. I think we did that. It's just kind of a fun collection to me of what the past 5 years have been for Wilderado, where we are now and dealing with everything that's going on. Always feels, the record, I keep telling people, feels just like a full circle back to the beginning of the band, which is a nice vibe.
Yeah. And do you find yourself writing about your kids a lot? I know you have Millie, I mean, does that temptation kind of drift in there? And like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I have a hard time sitting down to just write something or write something for someone. But there's, they're a part of everything I do and are always, even schedule. I mean, they're just, it's, like your children are just, they infiltrate everything. So yeah, they're a big inspiration. They play a big role in everything. Same with my wife. It's fun. There's a couple of songs. There's one song, the opening track on the record is kind of a song just about my wife and what it would be like to have a chance of meeting her again. And then there's another one kind of, I guess I was writing towards Millie. Milo's yet to make the cut. I don't know why. She's a rascal. She's my little buddy though. I think Millie's more of a thinker, and she's kind of got her own thing going on. Milo and I basically just wrestle all the time. I don't really know. If I wrote a song to Milo, it'd just be like, I love you. Let's wrestle. But I guess Millie's always kind of keeping me on my toes, wondering what she's doing.
You got to say something for the second full length.
Yeah, that's true.
Let it come naturally. It's okay. And
it'll come eventually.
I do like
I remember writing Millie. It was just such an accidental moment, and she really was just asleep right there on the floor, and you know what I mean? It's not, and then and it was, I love that song, and I love the production on that song, and so I think once Milo came around, I haven't really been able to get over the pressure of like writing round 2 of a song for my next kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe one day it'll pop up. I'm sure it will.
It'll come when it's right. And what's your wife's name?
Natalia.
Okay, so she's the outcast with the N, but you are taking all the M's, and Tyler is taking all the T's with his family, right? So
yeah, they're my M&Ms. It's the way I think about them.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. How that happened? It just did, I guess. We thought Milo was gonna be a boy. They told us she was a boy, and we wanted to name Millie Milo if she was a boy. We just always liked that name, so we just kind of named the little girl Milo.
Yeah. Well, I think it worked out how it's supposed to work out, right? So one of each. Well, Max, I want to thank you for taking the time. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm hoping you're able to get out on tour and come out here to the West Coast again.
And likewise, I appreciate you being interested in us, man. Thanks for asking great questions too.
Hey, happy to do it. Well, you have a great rest of your day then, and I'm ready for the album to come out. I look forward to hearing it when it does. So
thank you, man. Well, when you do, make sure to let me know what you think. I'd like to know what you think.
Absolutely, we'll do.
Okay.
All right. You have a good one. Okay, Max.
Bye.
Bye. That was the interview with Max Rainer of Wilderado. And Jens, that takes us to the final segment on the program. What is it?
Well, it is time, Steve, to talk about some music news.
That is right. Got a couple of stories to share about what's going on in the music world right now. And Jens, my story is pretty positive, so excited to share it with you.
Wait, you got a positive story?
I do, and I gave you a negative one, so
this is not a story about like somebody who just died, or someone who's recovering from a stroke, or someone who
No,
just
no.
came down with some disease?
I'll leave that to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Okay.
My story is about how we're moving beyond coronavirus right now, right? We're getting out in the open. We're, we talked about earlier about those live shows that are on the cusp of happening, that we're going to go to a concert again. You and I will be at a concert again, Jens, and it'll happen this year, right?
It will happen this year, Steve, and you just gave me a visual. I am visualizing you on your Peloton. You're like, oh my God, you're super competitive. You got your other Peloton buddies on your screen. You're like, and what's keeping you motivated is like there's this carrot dangling in front of you, which you can never get to, and that's your next concert. It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna get my next concert. Dave Grohl concert. And then right next to that next concert is like a donut and a cookie. Okay, go.
That's about right. So this story is about 28,500 shows are booked for grassroots music venues in this summer. So musicians are going to get back to work. Music fans can start to enjoy a live music experience again, and all the associated staff in the music venue ecosystem can go back to earning a living again. This is amazing news, right? So this is largely in Europe, in England. Much anticipation surrounds the return of live music following a year of inaction due to the coronavirus pandemic, especially after this weekend's COVID pilot test events for clubbing and a small festival setup featuring Blossoms. We talked about that a couple weeks ago on the pod, about how they were doing a show where they tested people before and after the at the end of the show. Current roadmap is showing May 17th as the penultimate stage, easing COVID-19 lockdown restrictions in the UK before a planned return to full capacity social activity on June 21st. What does the summer kind of look like, right? There was a survey that was put out that found that over 2,500 socially distant shows are already on sale in 266 venues from May 17th to June 21st, with more than 4,000 shows across 400 venues predicted to take place during the month. And gigs will increase throughout the summer, with over 17,000 full capacity shows already confirmed to take place by the end of September. Wow. It's just going to continue to grow and continue to grow. So lots of shows on the horizon in England, which, gives us a lot of hope for things happening here in the States, especially this state, which is doing really well with COVID, right?
Yes. Okay, I have a couple things to comment on that before I get into my story, which I'm certain is just as positive and full of hope for the future. But number one, should we just go to England? Should we get tickets now? Two, last night I was just reading some news that wasn't music related, just regular news, and saw a map of the US, and I was so proud of our state of California and how blue or purple or whatever it was, the color that you're supposed to be. Yeah, when you're trying to get to 100%, and there was one other state I think that was also like really getting there. But there were a couple of states that were just like, it looked like nobody had any shots. Like North fucking Dakota. What's wrong with you people?
Michigan and shit, right? Yeah.
Michigan and Wyoming. Fucking Wyoming. What is wrong with people? I mean, I'm looking at these states and I'm just assuming, oh, nobody lives there. That's the only reason you could explain that the map's white. Like, people aren't that stupid, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, we don't need to go too far down the COVID trail, but it's, I don't know. There's a lot of it that's frustrating. Like I hear about India and what's going on there, and it's really sad. But also, they had a lot of vaccines. They had an abundance of vaccines that were wasted because they thought they were out of the woodwork, and people didn't get vaccinated. And
Yeah.
and now they're paying the price for not getting vaccinated, and a lot of other countries have to donate to help get them out of that shithole.
Yeah, and sometimes these these vaccines that are being donated aren't the vaccines that have the high percentages, like the Azteca or whatever. I think the US gave away a lot of that stuff to Canada and other countries because we didn't need it, but also it's not as effective. So it's kind of like here you go, here's some free medication, doesn't really work, fuck you,
Yeah.
But the other thing, my dad was telling me about his time when he was in India years ago, and part of the culture or religion, I guess, is that when someone passes away, you've got to burn the body in a very short period of time, like within 24 or 48 hours or something like that. So they have cremation, but it's not in a crematorium. It's outside on like a pyre or something. I don't know.
And there's so much of that happening. It's just crazy now, right?
They're like, what are there, like 4,000 deaths or something in India now every day? Like, holy shit! Can you imagine? I mean, this is like
just walking down Main
Auschwitz.
Street and having to smell burning bodies or something,
Yeah.
right? Like
you've got ash falling from human
getting ingested in your lungs, and so it's just gross and sad.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't even know how to
We
process
need
that.
an uplifting story. You got an uplifting story for us, right?
Yeah. Well, you gave me the story, so I'm hoping it's uplifting. Okay. So we're transitioning from yay, concert's going to happen in England, hopefully the US and everywhere else. So we're going to talk about Lucinda Williams, and she's recovering. Oh my god, she had a stroke. Steve, what kind of stories are you giving me? Poor Lucinda. So the good news is she is revealing from the stroke that she had recently, and she says, quote, "Can't keep me down for too long," unquote. I love the positivity. Love the positivity. My god. Okay, I've never had a stroke in my life, but that's gotta suck, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this happened about a year ago, and she's on the road to recovery. She was speaking in an interview with Rolling Stone. She is currently 68, and she's looking pretty damn good for 68. Wow. Sporting the leather, sporting the guitar. Okay, so the 68-year-old singer-songwriter said she spent 5 weeks in the hospital after a blood clot developed on the right side of her brain in November. And this happened, a few days before Thanksgiving. She was in her bathroom getting ready to take a shower when she had all of a sudden, just trouble keeping her balance. She stumbled, struggled to stand up, and couldn't sit up straight and just couldn't walk. Ambulance came. And they were told not to put on the big siren. We didn't want to alarm the neighbors or anything. Oh my god. So then she was in intensive care for a week, where the doctors discovered the clot. And of course, with strokes, whatever happens on one side of the brain happens on the other side of the body. So her left side of the body was affected. She was transferred to rehab, and the rehab was about a month long. She was discharged towards the end of December and is now undergoing physical therapy. She walks.
Wow, so this is a while ago, huh?
This was a while ago. Yeah, she walks with a cane. She's not able to play her guitar, but she does have some lingering pain in both her arm and leg on the left side. But thanks to the lack of brain damage, the doctors expect her to make a full recovery.
Yes.
Yes, and that's always exactly, and that's always one of the big scares, when people have strokes. It's like, okay, was there any degree of brain damage there as a result of that? So,
well, that's a good
awesome
story, right?
That is a good story. Yes. So Lucinda, we hope to see you rocking on.
Hopefully she can pick that guitar back up and play, some shows, right? So,
yeah, let's hope.
All right, got one more story for you, Jens, and you know who it's involving?
It's involving, I'm just gonna take a guess here. Oh, Dave Grohl.
Hey, you got it. Good work. It's crazy. We have a story like every week about Dave Grohl. It's just always something fun and enriching, and a great way to end the show, isn't it?
Right. And you know what's really amazing is that it's so unpredictable. Like I never really know whether we're going to have a story about Dave Grohl, even though we have a story about Dave Grohl and everything. It's like still, it's a
you don't even
surprise
see
every
it
single
coming.
time.
It's always new. It's always new.
Yeah, it's like there's no way Dave Grohl can have some new news. It's like, how does this guy come up with all this content for us?
Yeah, it's great.
It's like,
it's a gift that keeps on giving, and he's so generous to just like be giving so much of himself. So
we're sharing the Dave Grohl love.
We know he's got a couple of documentaries coming out, right? And so Dave Grohl and his mom were
right. He partnered with his mom on that. Yeah,
he did on that the Dave Grohl. I mean, on the documentary where she goes around and she talks to a bunch of mothers of rock stars, right? Dave Grohl and his mom sang Carly Simon's "You're So Vain" in a clip of the Cradle to Stage documentary. And so I think we should probably play that.
Yeah,
that's singing, right? So
yeah,
let's check that out first.
Just really blew my
loving it.
So I can't understand then why you never decided as I did about Manhattan Transfer, because that's where their genius is. That they.
Okay. Anyway,
there we go.
Cute little moment from him and his mom, right?
Yeah.
And so they were singing a cappella, and after that, Grohl states that that song still amazes him. His mom, Virginia, cuts in and says she still can't understand why her son never got into the famed jazz vocal group Manhattan Transfer, which we just heard. That's where their genius is. That's where they get 4 or 5-part harmonies in ways that are really hard to duplicate. And he responds, "I don't know," before pointing a finger out the window and adding, "But I used to get high under that bridge over there."
Oh my god, that's so funny, dude.
Yeah. So that 6-episode series premiered on May 6th. It also features appearances from Imagine Dragons' Dan Reynolds, Christine Reynolds, Pharrell and Dr. Carolyn Williams, Miranda and Bev Lambert, Brandy and Teresa Carlisle, Tom and Mary Morello, and Geddy Lee and Mary Weinraub. So lots of interesting stories there if you're able to check that out on a network that you probably don't get. So,
you know what? I might have to fact check some of those names and the way you pronounce them. I'm feeling that you might have gotten one of those wrong, but it's cool. It's cool because you're talking to the guy who gets everybody's name wrong. I just feel like we bonded there for a second.
I'm there with you. I'm trying to feel your pain a little bit. There were a lot of names there. I rolled right through it, and hoping you wouldn't catch any flubs that may have existed. But you're welcome to go back to the tape and check how I did. How about that? So.
Yeah, I think that's cool. You know what? These. There's so many like amazing stories about. We were sharing some of them like. Nirvana in the van and touring and at this party that I was talking about before, where we're having like super inappropriate conversations in the last pod. One of these people was from Marin, and her dad, I think it was her dad, and her dad like had a property around here somewhere, and either okay, help me out. The woman who was really super famous with that Mercedes-Benz song, "Try to buy me a Mercedes-Benz." You know who I'm talking about?
No, I need to look it up.
God.
I don't know.
I am so bad with names. She is amazing. Oh my God, who is it? I'm sure everybody else knows what it is. It's just a Mercedes-Benz song. I feel like an idiot.
Janis Joplin.
Yes, thank you, Janis Joplin. Okay, like amazing. So I guess one of two things. I don't remember exactly because there's a lot of alcohol involved and we were drunk and can't remember facts. But either this woman's father played with her in the band before the Mercedes-Benz song, and that band she was involved with then became a thing, or she performed on his property or some, I don't remember. But like if you don't talk about certain topics with certain people that you meet in your life, you'd have no idea that there was this history, right?
Yeah.
Like I would have never known that this woman had met Janis Joplin when she was a little girl.
Yeah, for real.
Like I don't know if I grew up in a
Just no.
cave, but that would have never happened to me ever.
No, I know that sort of thing doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty freaking cool.
Interesting times. Well,
yeah, very interesting.
Well, that's our show for today, Jens. So I want to thank Wilderado for appearing on the program. And Jens, next week on the program, we are going to have The Accidentals. So lots of great shows lined up in the coming weeks. And for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, that's Jens Schiffel.
Yeah, that is Steve Jones.
We'll catch you next time.